To the class of 2017, well done. This class exemplifies grit, determination, and professionalism. My thanks to you for your great efforts, your great attitude over the past 24 months. And my thanks to the faculty and staff for your professionalism, for your skills as teachers and mentors. Being the gold standard for strategic leader education and idea development comes from having a world-class faculty. I've got the distinct pleasure now of introducing our graduation speaker, a soldier who for over 37 years has exemplified the skills and attributes to which we all aspire as strategic leaders. In a world of ever-increasing velocity of change, being able to demonstrate mental agility, creative leadership, and moral courage has always been the hallmark of General Dave Perkins. Decades into the future, the famed Thunder Run of his 2nd Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division in Baghdad in March of 2003 will be studied and held up as an example of bold, courageous, and highly decisive action. Since becoming the commander of U.S. Training and Doctrine Command in March 2014, General Perkins has been tireless in his efforts to transform the force, not just in form, but in its ability to think creatively and to be agile and effective in the face of a highly complex security environment. His steady leadership of soldiers from platoon level up to the highest levels of our Army have been remarkable in these turbulent times. He truly exemplifies Army strong, and it's my great honor to introduce to you General Dave Perkins.
Well, Bill, thanks for that overly gracious introduction, and to all the folks out there, friends, guests, supporters of the War College, our Army in general, and of course to the graduates, welcome here to take part in these grand ceremonies, which you don't get a better setting than this, a great historic Army post with well-manicured grounds and martial music being played by the band and the smoke of artillery fire wafting over the audience. So it looks like something we just put together in Hollywood, but no, it is real. So, you know, when we have events like this, we're celebrating a number of things. The accomplishments of the students out there, recognition of the staff and faculty for all they have done, recognition of our history and legacy, and of course it takes a lot of people to pull this off, both here today to put this all together and everything that came before this. And so if we could have a round of applause for all the people behind the scenes that are out here making this a great day. So days like this are you hear people say, well, this is a happy occasion, a happy day. And Chaplain, thanks for working the weather, and I think it's going to all come together here. And we always, you know, we have a particular focus on the graduates because of their accomplishments and what they've been through. And this is, you know, the recognition and culmination of a lot of study, hard work, critical thinking. And so a lot of attention is paid to them. And we want them to feel a sense of well-being and happiness for all that we are going to sort of recognize them for and that they've been through here today. And there's actually been a lot of study on sort of this concept of happiness. And they say the greatest contributor to somebody being happy or have a sense of well-being is to be able to have a sense of gratitude and to display gratitude. So if you can have gratitude and display gratitude, that through a lot of study is the biggest contributor to a sense of well-being and happiness. And since we want all the graduates to have a sense of well-being and happiness, what we're going to do is help that along. And so to all the students out there, you did not get here by yourself, and I'm sure you'd be the first to admit that. The staff and faculty represented by the folks up here in the gazebo, your family, friends, peers, all that, they have put a lot of effort into you to get to where you are today. So what I want to do to ensure you have a sense of well-being is I'm going to give you, the graduates, an opportunity to display your gratitude. So on the count of three, because everything in the Army happens on the count of three, I want the graduates to stand up and turn around and give a round of applause to all of those who made it possible that you're here. So 1, 2, 3, on your feet. Display gratitude. Okay, very good. I can feel the wave of well-being just flushing over us up here. I'd like to, today there'll be a number of things going on here in Carlisle, but a special recognition. General Rapp, I know this is your last graduation as a Commandant, and we're going to recognize him in a couple other ceremonies here, so I won't spend too much time on it. But Bill, you have been the quintessential leader and strongest advocate the Army can have for producing great students like this. So this is a great opportunity for your end item product and everyone else out there to give you a special round of applause on your last graduation. Thanks, Bill. So again, when you have ceremonies like this and sort of these culminating events in one's life, it's always a great opportunity to kind of take stock and look at where you've been and where you're going and your focus in life and all that. And a lot of people write about things that you should consider in your life, and there are certain times in your life when are a little bit more reflective than others. And a great writer out there, Mr. Brooks, said, you know, one of the things he's noticed that as people go through life, we have different things we focus on. And he said a good question to ask yourself, and I think times like this are appropriate because we tend to be a little bit more reflective, is when you are living your life, are you living your life to build your resume, or are you living your life, not to be too macabre about it, but with a sense of what somebody's going to say at your eulogy? Because we've all been to probably, unfortunately, too many memorial services and other funerals like that, but it's very interesting when you go to those, people usually talk about the person themselves, not necessarily what they did. But in a resume, you kind of talk about what you've done and, you know, your particular personal attributes. But at the end of one's life, people tend to reflect back on who you are, what you focus on, what was important to you. I've yet to be to a memorial service, a funeral, and say, well, so-and-so and so-and-so, man, they could really crank out a PowerPoint brief. Or did you see their point paper on X, Y, and Z? Or did you see their load plan they cranked out when they commanded this unit? No, usually what they talk about is, hey, do you remember how this person used to interact with people? Do you remember how this person sort of tried to reinforce folks? Do you remember how they lived their life and set an example, et cetera, like that? But too often in the world that we live in the hectic world, a lot of people get consumed with building a great resume. And there's nothing wrong with that. And your graduation here for the U.S. Army War College is a great thing to have on your resume. It is not to be minimized. I'm just telling you, you need to put it in perspective, this and everything else. Because in my experience, what you really want to keep in mind is those that are around you, those that you touch, and all of you, by virtue of you being here as a student, are a leader. Those that you lead, what do they think you're focusing on? Do the people that work for you, if you were to ask them today, hey, do you work for Colonel so-and-so or Captain so-and-so or X, Y, and Z, where are their priorities? What do they focus on? What do they take pride on? You know, are they building a resume? Because if you're looking at building a resume, primarily you tend to look in a certain direction. Or are they really trying to impact the world, trying to impact people, things like that, because you tend to be motivated by something else, and you tend to look in a different direction. And I have worked, not too often, but often enough, on people that I'm pretty sure their focus was on building a resume. And those have been probably my least rewarding jobs that I've had. And then thankfully I worked for a lot of people who were looking in another direction, and they had another priority in their life. And those were the people that I tried to aspire to be like. And, you know, a great example of that is many years ago now, there was a unit that was in intense combat. There was a young specialist in that unit. And there happened to be some embedded reporters with that unit, and that specialist was in a very intense firefight, highly outnumbered with the enemy, and the weather and conditions were such that there were going to be no medevac helicopters flying. In fact, not even any ground medevac because they were surrounded. And this soldier, this specialist, had been wounded multiple times. And he was not going to be medevaced, and he was not going to be able to be treated other than just right there with his buddies. No Ford surgical team or anything like that at hand. And TV cameras came up to him, and at that time, one of his buddies was bandaging his arm, and then on his leg, they had ripped open his pant legs as they were working on it, and there was still a bullet sticking through his leg, and you could see it coming out the other side on the TV camera, still in him. And so the reporter's talking to this young soldier and saying, what happened? He says, well, we did this, we got in here, we got the ambush happened, et cetera, like that. And as we speak, he's being worked on by other soldiers, other infantrymen. And so he's there with 2 bullets in him. And the reporter continues on, and finally he says, well, what are you going to do now, et cetera, like that. And finally the specialist said, hey, don't worry about me, everything's going to be all right. I'm going to be just fine. What he was saying is, in essence, is, you know what, I work with a lot of great people. I have a lot of great people in my squad, platoon, et cetera, like that. And the time that I've been here in this unit, my sense is they've been focusing on the right thing because, see, they're going to focus on keeping me alive. They are going to focus on making sure we complete the mission. They aren't looking to build another tick in their resume. They aren't looking upward to see, how this is going to come out on their OER, whatever it is. My experience is they are focused on me. They are focused on the mission. I don't really know what's going to happen. I have no idea. I'm just a young specialist in the infantry out here. But my experience hanging around this unit for a while is they are going to do the right thing because I know where their priorities are. I know what they focus on. And it's one of the greatest examples that I have seen in probably the most sort of dire situations where what leaders have done before the crisis hits totally mitigates what actually happened in the midst of the crisis. And it had nothing to do with how great the medical care was, although our Army has great medical care, something like that. It had everything to do with the command climate and the leadership that has been present, not just at that moment, but that was inculcated throughout that unit. And so, as we are about to recognize you here today for a great accomplishment, as we are going to give you a diploma, the question I would ask you is, and so we have given you great intellectual capability and attributes, what are you going to do with them? Is the first thing you're going to do run to your ORB and make sure it's on your resume? Hey, make sure I'm Mel 1 qualified. Or is the first thing you're going to do to say, you know what, how can I use this knowledge? How can I take the example of the staff and faculty that I've experienced here throughout this process in Carlisle, and how do I reinvest it back into my unit? As we are giving you this treasure of experience and this treasure of example, are you going to go out and bury it in the backyard or mount the diploma on the wall and sit there and admire it every day? Or are you going to take what we have given you and you're going to reinvest it? Are you going to reinvest it in your unit? Soldiers, airmen, Marine, sailors, and other agencies that you're from. And so what I would ask you to keep in the back of your mind, when you go back to where you came from, where you come back to where you came from and the communities that you're in, are people going to notice a difference in you? Or the only way they're going to notice there's a difference in you is that you invite them into your study and you say, look at the diploma on the wall. Isn't that a great diploma? And I'm sure they're going to say that's an amazing diploma. But if that's the only way they knew that you spent any time at Carlisle or that you spent any time improving yourself, I would say you're sort of burying that treasure. You're not reinvesting it. When you go back to your unit, your community, they should know that you've been through something special. You have much more capability that you used to have, and without even looking at that diploma. And if you look at life that way, I guarantee what you're going to find is this investment that you're now going to put back in your organization, it will multiply tenfold. And that when people look back on serving with you, what they're going to talk about is what kind of person you were. What they're going to talk about is how you influenced them. What they're going to talk about is, yes, I want to be like so-and-so, captain, colonel, et cetera, like that. That's what I want to be like them. And they may have no idea that you were even at the War College. In fact, half the folks you work with, they don't even know sort of where it is in the whole paradigm of PME and all that stuff. That point is irrelevant to them because they, you know what? My experience is your subordinates don't care what's on your resume. Your subordinates care about what kind of person you are and what kind of leader you are. So again, congratulations on your great accomplishments. Congratulations on being part of a great group of professional leaders that want to get better all the time. Congratulations, Bill, to you and the staff and faculty and everyone that pour your heart and soul because you continually reinvest. The staff and faculty and everybody here continually reinvest in you every time. And now we are going to give you the opportunity to go out and reinvest your talents with everybody you work with. So congratulations and Godspeed. Thank you.